Good afternoon to one and all present here. So we gladly welcome you to our today's session. So as we all know that Homeopathic Musings has been around for more than 2 years now. And it is headed by the passionate duo Dr. Prajakta Vaidya and Preeti Shah, who are trying to contribute their very little to this homeopathic world by conducting musings every first and third Saturdays. So I'm very glad to let you all know about our upcoming modules. So it is Conception to Birth Remedies-Mineral group by Dr. Shekhar Algundgi sir, who is also the speaker for the day. And he will be covering Conception to Birth Remedies, that is remedies belonging to row 1 and row 2 in much on 2nd, 4th, 9th and 11th November. Today's session will be a snippet of what to expect in the upcoming module that will be held in November. So you will get a better idea of what to expect and how this module is going to be conducted. Today, I also have a very exciting and surprise for all of you who are present here. It is exclusive for all the attendees of today's session. This session has been this module has been a very popular one and we've got a very good response. So we have decided to extend our early bird offer. It was till 2nd October, but for all the attendees of today's session, the early bird offer is extended and it is valid today and till midnight of tomorrow. So you can get the same price, that is rupees 2,200 for Indians and USD 50 for those abroad. And post that, after early bird will apply. So this is a great opportunity for only today's attendees. Our next module is in the next year, Jan 2023 to December 2023. It is a full year program which will be conducted by Dr. Preeti Shah, Prajakta Vaidya and Rani Shah ma'am. The chief mentor of this plant module is Dr. Mahesh Gandhi sir. The entire plant kingdom will be taken up in great detail over 36 sessions in the period of the next 1 year. We also intend to have an in-person retreat seminar towards the end of this module. The early bird offer for the plant module is till 15th November. So I'm very glad to welcome today's speaker, none other than Dr. Shekhar Algundgi sir. So sir has his own accolades and he doesn't need me for his introduction. A few words about him. He's been in this homeopathic world for the past 28 years. He is famous for his oratory skill, his patient listening, and his unique way of reaching to the soul of the person, and that makes him different and sets him apart from the other doctors in this field. He also heads the Swara Konkan Homeopathic Gurukul workshop. It is a unique concept where he inculcates academics, inculcates teaching amidst nature, and that is his way of teaching and making this entire experience a great one. And this Swara Konkan Homeopathic Gurukul workshop has spread like a wildfire in homeopathic circles, and many have been benefited with this. He's an international speaker who's got a chance to present his seminars in over 70 cities in India and in other parts of the world. Thank you, Shekhar sir, for removing your time from your busy schedule and coming on this platform. We are really honored to have you here. Just before I give the mic to Dr. Shekhar, would like to inform you all about some basic hygiene factors. Kindly mute your lines all the while. Question and answers can be kept in the end of the session. Kindly drop in your questions in the chat box. Please refrain from scribbling on the screen. You can keep your videos on for a healthy interaction. The recordings of all our musings will be available on the repertoire of learning, the link for which is flashed on the screen. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For any further questions or difficulties, you can reach out to us on the number that you see on the screen. Over to you, sir.
A very good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
And it's good to see so many from all over the country and abroad at this time. And well, the idea of getting into this particular topic is to understand how each individual remedy present themselves with the idea of how one has been developing. From the womb stage, the whole idea from conception to the idea of just born. And this is just a sort of way to make us understand as to what are we trying to deal with. How the materia medica fits in with this theoretical concept and making it easy for us to understand these 10 to 12 remedies that we see in the first and the second row. The idea about how these are presenting their problems with people around them or the environment that they are associated with. How they are structurally developed. The idea about how competent they are. The idea about how much capacity and how much amount of ability they possess in order to have their life story happening. So this whole concept about the first row and the second row of the mineral kingdom, where we have hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, all these remedies, the very way, the very fact of how much they are able to face life. You know, what sort of a support system they need. What is it that is making them to be who they are? How they are able to communicate and connect with the outer world. The idea of something being inside the womb. And the idea of how do they connect with the people or their environment outside. What are their issues, basically? What is the problem in their life? What is the conflict that is running within themselves? How do they think? How do they perceive the situation? How do they perceive any external stimuli? What is the type of feeling that these people get on perceiving any stimuli? The way they would react to these particular feelings. What way does it percolate down to their physical level in terms of physical generals and physical particulars? What is their reaction towards the stimuli? How do they actually cope up in life and with the situations? Collectively, what we simply call it as stress. The idea of how an individual perceives, the way the person feels, the way the person reacts to that particular feeling, the way the person, how it percolates down at a physical level, and the idea of how the individual copes up to the given situation. And it is very, very strange to know, like other remedies, you have some or the other person who is the cause of the stress, because they are out of the womb now. They are in this planet. They are born, and therefore their conflicts in life is something to do with some person, something to do with material things, something to do with financial problems, or a house problem, or a job problem, or something to do with their family, or maybe friend circle. So this conflict of some expectation and that expectation not being fulfilled. This issue between I as an individual with that of the you in this universe. Who is that you? That you could be the family. The you could be somebody who wants a job. The you could be somebody who is needing some financial help. But the row 1 and row 2, the other way around, if you go to see, are not the one who are actually out on this planet. They are yet to be completely developed. They're yet to be actually having their own physiological system. They're yet to be independent on their own to face this world. So they have an inner world of their own. And what are the issues, even though they are inside their own world? What is the issues that they are facing being inside the womb? And how does that actually affect them? And how they are presented? The idea of the way they have been presenting their problems. And if you keenly observe, and if you keenly listen to this conversation, you'll find a very strange, peculiar thing. That it is all a problem within themselves. The problem that I am not deaf. The problem that I do not have the ability. The problem that I am unable to face the world. Why? Because of their primitive, because of their undeveloped state. And this state itself is manifested in their talks, the way they present it. And so we see how the idea of hydrogen and helium in the first row, where the whole idea of only the conceptual part is there. Who am I is a long story. Do I exist is an issue. Otherwise, like for other remedies, they're trying to find their place in the family. They're trying to find a place in the society. They're trying to find a place in their environment that they're associated with. But for these people of the first row, the idea is, do I exist or not? Such is the primitive state of the row 1. And it will be a real fascinating world to see how hydrogen people and helium people actually talk. Because we normally hear as a common thing where people talk about material, where people talk about relationships, where people talk about their jobs and business profile, where people talk about being unhappy for what they actually wanted and what they are getting. But this is not so with the remedies from the first row and the second row. For them, the idea about material thing is far away. For them, the idea of interpersonal relationship is far away. Because the you doesn't exist for them. Because they are not yet born. And thus we see how this particular concept actually boils down to in these people. And so the whole idea, if we go on seeing further into the second row also, the idea that the fetal development is happening. The idea that now I'm trying to, or I'm still just at this moment of time evolving to form a complete I. It's a process from lithium till that of the other end of the story to the fluorine, the idea of developing, self-development within that confined space. And therefore, the idea about my own structure is now slowly is evolving. And that is how we will see from the lithium, beryllium, boron from the left side of the periodic table to that of what we see from further down to the right side of the periodic table, where we have the other 3-4 remedies which come into the picture. Thus, we will see how the anxiety of lithium, how very small trifle things literally affect them, how jittery they can be, how panic they can get into. Because for them, facing anything is, oh my God, this is the story for these people. It is simply like an uninsulated living organism, where just cannot resist anything. The slightest thing literally affects them. So we'll see in lithium how this thing actually comes up. Further, we go to see in beryllium and boron further down, when we see how they are now formed and they're about to now slowly, gradually ready to move out. And the idea of how borax has this downward movement that aggravates them. Further, we go to see in the carbon the idea about active and passive type of carbon. The idea of having the atomic number 6. The idea about 2 in the first circle and 4 in the second ring, where they have to get 4 in order to become stable, or give away that 4 in order to remain stable. So the idea about, should I give out or should I receive something? With this concept, we understand the idea of how much confused that the carbon people will be. Going further down, we see slowly, gradually, the fetal now process of getting the head engaged. It's ready to move out. The idea about being in a narrow place. The idea about feeling claustrophobic. The idea about suffocation. And the idea of how restless they could be being in a crowd which is so suffocated. They give you images of being in a lift, being in a small space, being in a tunnel, being in a narrow space. And no, it is suffocating. I can't breathe. No, I just can't think of it. This is how the idea of claustrophobic understanding of the nitrogen could be understood. And then we move on further into oxygen, where they just give you this idea about how that I'm now breathing. The first breath that I take and I feel rejuvenated. So this is the sequence of how do we see from the lithium right up till the oxygen and further the birth taking place, and their respective materia medica with this particular understanding of the fetal development right up from conception till the idea of birth. How do we see each element fitting in its own place and giving us the idea of what is it that these people are trying to tell. The whole concept becomes so beautiful. The idea of never we would think of hydrogen like remedy, never would think of helium like remedy, lithium, beryllium. Now with this unpicturization of from concept to birth, the whole remedial understanding and the personality, how they are talking, makes it very, very clear for us to understand. And I hope these 4 sessions in the month of November would definitely and surely, with cases, would make the idea absolutely clear. Otherwise, simply from materia medica, it would be difficult to understand how do these people convey the idea of being within the womb. The theory or the concept of inside and outside. The idea of how am I safe within the womb, and outside is so much of chaos, so much of danger, so much of threat. This concept we will definitely see in the 4 sessions that are coming up in the month of November. Any questions?
requesting the participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself or drop your questions in the chat box and sir will address them one at a time. Okay, so as we wait for the participants and their queries, so I would like to know about your experience in practice about using these two rows. They are not very commonly used remedies.
Correct.
So what is your experience, sir, in using this, and how did you come up to this these remedies?
See, the idea about, first thing is the idea about when we listen to these cases, we see that there is something called as the inside and outside concept that comes up. The idea about being safe within. And outside, I'm not at all yet developed to face the world. The idea that there is this particular understanding that how primitive and how much I am undeveloped. The state of panic that they show, the state of anxiety that they present with, and most importantly, the idea that they are not able to connect to this world outside. And I do not find myself at any place as though I'm really existing, or am I really there or no, is a big question. In a group of friends, when people are talking, I'm not able to actually present myself. I'm not able to actually answer to their questions. I'm not able to ask my difficulty. I don't know. Sometimes I find myself like a buffoon over there. I'm just not able to connect. This is my problem. And this concept itself will slowly unwind, giving you the idea about what is happening to them. The idea about how do they really need that covering? How do they really need that wrap so that I feel safe inside? And nothing can actually hurt me. Nothing can actually penetrate inside. I'm there cozy and safe, and I'm, the whole world within my own self, I'm okay with it. The best sleeping position is to be cuddling yourself and taking a blanket and covering up and sleeping. That's the most beautiful thing I feel, doctor, in this entire thing. The idea that I am not seen and neither I want to see anybody else. Completely inside, because the outside is too much for me to actually bear. That is what is the beauty of understanding how gradually, stepwise, when you start interrogating with them, when you start trying to understand them, they give you this idea that for them, it is not the material world. For them, it is not the rat race that is happening in this world today. For them, the idea is, am I there or am I not there? Do I exist or do I not exist? This is the important conflict that they actually have within themselves.
Thank you, sir. I think we have a question. Yeah, so how can we differentiate these group of remedies with the mollusk group?
The mollusk, the whole idea is that there is, again, the theme of inside and outside. The idea of withdrawing into the cover, which they will give you this beautiful idea of something called as more than inside, outside. Along with it, there is a concept of something called as soft and hard. That inside is soft, outside is hard. The hard is the covering that protects the inside, which is soft. And the inside soft is something that is actually doesn't have a form, a structure. It is just a mass. And that cannot survive without the outside cover. And when you probe into the survive, they will give you this idea that it is not that developed. It is not that strong. It is completely weak. And therefore, any bigger thing can come and harm it. Any bigger thing can open up this cover and can grab this. So you'll get the qualities of survival. You'll get the qualities of me versus you. You get the qualities of strong versus weak. You get the qualities of hard and soft. You get the quality of inside and outside. And apart from that, the idea of the type of mollusk that is it, and its locomotive factor, its survival instinct, its habitat, these all factors will give you the idea of the understanding of that it is mollusk and not the row 2 of the periodic table. Because there they will give you the whole condition of how it moves, how it survives, where is its habitat. All this will give you the idea of the mollusk understanding. Whereas the row 2 will give you this idea that I am not structurally developed. I do not have the capacity and ability to face the world. There is something lacking within me, which makes me to feel that no, outside world is too much for me to bear. So structural ideas and the survival idea will give you the difference of understanding how these two, the mollusk and the row 2, gives us the difference of this particular concept of inside and outside.
Thank you, sir. I think this cleared the doubt. There's another question, sir. So after taking the individual medicine, will the characteristic mind symptoms changes or not? So this is a general question.
Yeah. See what happens with our remedies. When we are prescribing the remedy, the state that the person is, that state actually gets diluted. What we are in that state, which is not at all conducive to the given environment, to a given situation at a given time, which can be obvious not only to the person, but also to the people around, gives the idea that there is something wrong. And therefore, in 84 aphorism, what Hanuman says is that the patient details and those about him tell what they have behaved. The idea is very clear over there that this state is now obvious that there is some sort of deviation in my health or my normal condition, and I need to take some remedy. Once the remedy is given, what happens is that state which was now obvious to me and to the surrounding, that gets diluted. It gets in par with the time. It gets in par with the intensity, and it is just for the moment of time that your state is seen, and then it's okay. But previously, when it was altered, when we say altered, what does it mean? That this state remains for a long duration of time, and you're not able to overcome that situation. In spite of the time has gone ahead, but still your perception to everything around is still the same as what it was days back, months back, years back. So with the remedy, it dilutes that state, but your state remains the same. What happens is the intensity is diluted, and therefore you are in term with whatever is happening in your surrounding for that momentary, and then it's okay. It doesn't affect you at the level of mind, at the level of body. It's just momentary, and that's fine. That's why when people come for follow-up, they will give you, oh, I get that problem of anger sometimes, doctor, but that is okay. Unlike before, oh my God, that would be for days together. And I would keep on thinking, and then I would keep on thinking, how would I get the better of that person? Revenge, how would I take? And what would I say? When will I give back? These type of things then completely stops. That is what is cure. Because the vital force is the same what is in disease as the same what is in health. The idea only this is that the vital force in health is able to communicate with the situation and surroundings as per its time with a normal intensity. But that when it is in a disease condition, it becomes so abnormal that it actually bothers the individual and to the people around. Right? So the condition is only diluted.
Thank you. So I think this question is frequently asked because I remember one of my sir telling me that if the patient starts to feel ugly after taking homeopathic medicines, he won't become good. He won't look good, but he'll just feel that he's not ugly anymore. It's not that the person changes altogether.
Correct.
It's his state. We'll go for the next question. Will any case be presented today? So for understanding, I would really appreciate it. So
No,
if you have any short case?
No, short case though, because all these cases actually has to be really done in a very, because what will happen, shortcuts will confuse. And I don't want to leave anybody, frankly speaking, I don't want to leave anybody being confused. Therefore, these 4 modules simply because that the idea should be clear. It's not simply theory, it's in cases also. It's not only in cases, but it is also concept. So the concept, the theory, the case, everything, yeah, now I'm okay. Now I'm clear with it. Now I'm understanding it. Others, theoretically, if I have to say, or orally, if I have to just say, oh, mollusks say like this, will all tell survival, will be the next question asked. They will all say, okay, and someone strong will come and attack me. Then that will be again a question. So it leads to a lot of questions if I have to show shortcuts. Therefore, I prefer not to show shortcuts simply because I don't want to leave anybody in a speck of confusion. Let us have complete, proper understanding of the whole thing, right up from hydrogen till the concept of birth, so that it is very clear, because these 8 to 10 remedies you all will definitely start using in your practice. That is the whole aim.
Right. So moving ahead, does LM potency produces aggravation, especially at mental plane?
Again, the question for posology. It depends upon the case to case, depends upon the acuteness, it depends upon the progress of the pathology. So there are a lot of criteria for it. It is not simply LM potency will aggravate the mental state. It depends upon how progressive is the pathology. It depends upon the chronicity. It depends upon the depth of desperation that the person is into. So choosing for LM is the idea of, from every case to case, you have to think over what is the criteria that fits into. Then again, there is a lot of criteria. How would we look into what LM potency, whether to give in this particular case or not to give?
Okay. Yeah, so we have a question. Birth canal and process trauma, is it evident in these remedies? Does pregnancy history of mother help?
Definitely. Pregnancy history from the time of conception till the time of delivery, the whole state that the mother goes through, and every changes that is brought in, which was not there in the mother before and has now developed into her from the time of conception, is all those changes have been brought in by the soul of the fetus. You know, doc, I never liked sour food at all. But from the time I conceived, I am so much craving. I used to go out of my way, searching even at the night time, that can I have something sour? I would love to eat pickles. I would love to have tamarinds. I would love to, I would bite them. I would eat them. That the people in the family would feel, oh, how can you have this? So it is, where has this come from? It is a soul. It is the vital force of the fetus that has brought in these changes from the time of conception till the time of delivery. And many a times you will see after pregnancy, all that has gone now. It's not there. How did it go and how did it come? And from where did it come and where did it go? So the whole thing has been the idea about that this particular fetus brings in the changes of desires, aversions, mental state, hormonal changes, whatever changes happens is because of the fetal vital force that is now present in the womb of the mother. So therefore, pregnancy history always gives us an additional help. Not only additional, it gives a real major help. Provided we are perfect in clearly asking from the time of conception till the time of delivery, all that changes that has happened to you, mentally or physically, whatever you could recollect, please give me that information.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is also a general question, so I'll just club these two questions together. Would that mean that the remedy stays the same over lifetime? And second question is, since homeopathy works on individualization, so everything with a vital force is unique. So does one pulsatilla plant differ from other pulsatilla plants? And will the constitution of one plant or animal will be different from the other?
How can it be different? One pulsatilla plant will be the same with other. If the genera, order, family, everything is the same one, then it cannot differ. Whether it is in India, that pulsatilla, whether it's in Africa. If it is the same species, it will have all the qualities that is there. So it cannot change. And other question that was asked was, does the vital force change in or remain the same in the entire lifetime? Unless and until if there is some sort of a severe external forces or external turmoils that happen, which has left a big impact on the person, normally it tends to remain the same.
There's another question. So, your experience whether some patients present issues related with another level of development after a remedy is prescribed for the present state. Is it possible to have a zigzag method of cure in this method?
The zigzag method I did not get.
So I think they want to mean that if we are changing the state of the person at one time, we come to another remedy, and then again the state of the person changes, then we change the remedy.
That
so
means
how is that process?
See, that means the case somewhere or the other down the line, something or the other has been missed out at the very first consultation. Because what happens is that if there is some sort of an error in understanding one part, you might get the proper address, probably you might miss the pin code. And in that situation, then you are seeing the faint idea of some other. And if you see there is some sort of a correlation maybe between those two remedies, either they belong to the same class, or they belong to the same order, or they might belong to the same species or subkingdom or a species. But that particular first consultation, something must have been left out to probe or to clarify. In this type of cases, definitely it will happen. The best idea is to go back to the first case and see what has happened. If there is a video or audio recording, listen to that case again. The best learning will be, did I miss out anything? For which this thing that I am seeing is, has it changed or no?
Okay. So can you tell something about Malve's family, about their feeling of detachment from the mother, how to differentiate from other remedies?
Well, the Malve's family, the whole idea is all about togetherness. The whole idea about having a bond. The idea of connecting. And this connection itself gives them the stability. This connection itself gives them the feeling of wellness. And the opposite of that is idea of feeling separated. The idea of feeling lonely, the idea of feeling abandoned sort of a feeling, that I am isolated, I am alone, I am separated, I do not have the companionship, I do not have the person's company, I do not have that bonding, I'm not able to connect. And therefore, the themes of parties, the theme of celebration, the theme of functions is manifested in the form of dreams or in their talks also. I love partying. What in partying you love? Or I love that idea of being together. What in that together? Oh, we really share a good rapport with each other. Describe that. Oh, we gel along with each other. Describe that. Oh, I have a good bonding with that person. I have a good connection with that person. A sense of attachment with that person. So the idea of attachment and detachment that is there, that you can see in the malwhales. But if you see the mammals for that matter, the whole idea of this attachment and the bonding is the idea of protection. The idea that I am attached to the mother or I'm attached to the group because the group gives me the idea of feeling protected. It makes me feel safe. It makes me feel, otherwise, if I am not there, if I'm not attached, if I'm not with the group, then there is the idea of vulnerability. Somebody might come and take me away. Somebody might come and finish me off. Somebody might come and kill me. So the idea for mammals, this thing is to be safe within the group, to be safe within the herd, to be safe in that particular protective mechanism. And therefore, they would also give you some faint idea of connecting, bonding, attachment, and all these things. But where does that attachment go to? The attachment goes towards the safety. Where does the detachment go to? The detachment goes towards that vulnerability. So you'll see this is how the two will differ. The idea of this thing is the difference will be in this manner. Whereas if you see the row 3 attachment, the attachment is that they are the support system. The attachment is that they are like a fence. They are like someone who can nurture. They are someone who can always give me the right, show me the right path. They are the one who can guide me. They are the ones who are able to make me grow in life. So the idea of my structural development, in that sense, the attachment, in that sense, the love, in that sense, the idea of bonding, in that sense, the idea of connecting. You see the magnesium, you see the natrums, the idea of love that they can give you is, oh, my love, you're the love of my life. Because of you, the idea is that because of you, I could achieve all this, whatever I am today. So they are the support system. They become the support system. Otherwise, without you, I would have been no one. That's how the idea is shared. So for the malwhales, it is all about the lingering taste of togetherness. Cadbury's Dairy Milk. For someone whom I love, for someone whom I can connect, for someone whom I can talk to. But for the mineral row 3, it is someone who supports me, someone who is a guide to me, someone who shows me the path. Hand-holding type of personality is what the love for the row 3 type of people will be having. So they hold the hand and show you the path. Why? Because you do not know your own self, because you're not developed. You do not have the ability. And therefore, that undeveloped feature, that not knowing the path, not knowing the situation, not knowing the circumstances, the other person is the one who shows you the path, is the one who gives you the idea. And therefore, you walk on to, that is my love. So the love of all the different type of this thing, it's a big seminar on its own. Everybody wants love. And I always tell my patient, I don't understand what is this love. Could you please describe this? You don't know love? I don't know. So the love for every different personality is completely strange.
Yes, right. He said so. Okay, so we'll just move ahead. Joanna wants to know, what is your take on healing by layers as per Asiaga's teaching, giving a remedy to the most outermost layer of the state and progressing this way down to the deepest layer.
What is this? I wouldn't know what is this. Isayagas. Joanna, I wouldn't know this, to be very frank.
So, but that is how we generally also move in a case like peeling the onion layer by layer.
Levels of experience you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The levels of experience. So the idea is when we are going by levels, the idea is you are knowing where you are going. The idea is you know exactly what is the person trying to tell you, and with that there is a connectivity that is set up. And when you set up that connectivity, then you can communicate with that person. And when you can communicate, only then the conversation can happen. Because previously, what would happen? The patient is talking something else. You have a particular idea about case taking, and you would ask a question according to your understanding, and patient is not at all interested. Again, the factor of love. It's like loving the patient for that momentary of time and going with the person wherever the person is going. It's simply saying, be interested in the person in front of you, what they are interested in. If you are interested in what that other person is interested in, then only that connectivity will be set. And once that connectivity is set, then only you are working together to have that communication and end up having a proper conversation. Otherwise, you will be having this beautiful website called as www.totalconfusion.com. Because if you cannot set up that proper connect by asking a proper question, by going by layer, where exactly is the person introducing me about the complaints? Okay, tell me about the complaints. Telling me about the feelings? Okay, tell me how does that feeling feel like to you? Telling me about how the person imagines about oneself? Okay, describe that imagination, whatever the person is imagining. So there is this connection happening because you are on the same page as what the other person is. If that is not there, you're definitely lost because he is telling you something and you are listening to something else. So this is very, very important if we really have to set up a proper conversation in the end.
Thank you, sir, for breaking it down so nicely for us. We don't have any questions on the chat box right now. I'd like to ask, we have sir for the next 10 minutes available to answer and clarify your doubts.
So basically, the whole idea is patient listening. The whole idea is trying to find out where is the person focusing, trying to find out what is the problem, trying to find out where is the problem, trying to understand how much is the problem, because there will be people who will tell you so many problems. Try to understand where is the problem first. Try to understand what is the problem. Trying to understand and which one is really of utmost important for that person amongst all those problems. Once you know that, then you are very clear in going ahead with the deepest problem that the person is suffering, because then the person is also interested to tell you actually what he or she is suffering from. But if we go understand by this understanding, because I can understand this problem, or I thought this is the problem, then it will not work. The whole idea should be absolutely clear by first allowing the person to talk everything that they are wanting to talk. Get the feel of it. Have a survey. Once you have done the survey, then you are able to understand what is the person trying to tell you. What is the subject of problem? Once you understand the subject of problem, then only the further talk can happen. Because without a subject, there cannot be a talk. And what happens to us is we are so anxiously wanting to ask something, and we do not know exactly what is the subject of problem for the person in front. And then we wander. And then we don't know what to do next. And after the fag end of half an hour, then we'll ask them, okay, so tell me about your nature. Now, till now, what you are doing then? Because you ask questions frequently, you did not know where the anchor should be. You did not know what is the subject of problem for that person. Now you have landed up into a situation where you are in a no man's territory. So by very clear, and even in the cases when we are doing it in the month of November, you will see the whole idea is how much a person can wait. And that waiting itself will help you to go deeper into the person, because you are clear. You are doing your homework. You're waiting and watching. All these are important. You are seeing where is the voice modulation of the person. By if a person says, I'm angry, and the person says like this, I'm angry, it makes a huge difference. The way it is being said, the voice modulation, the facial expression, the pace of the talk, all these matters in the time of conversation. And what is the most important organ for a homeopath to be having is the eyes and the ear. And to see everything the way it is and listen to the whole conversation the way it is. Because if we understand this, what is, without modifying it, keeping it as pure as it is, you will really strike the right chord.
So for giving us tips on case taking right from the root level, you're taking it now. So I wanted to know about the matrimonial remedies, since we're dealing with conception to birth. So just a brief about the matrimonial remedies. Can we have it from you, sir?
No.
Okay.
With the session, I'll definitely give all those things.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. So we have a question on YouTube. Since we are going live on YouTube, we have a question. So can we differentiate this row from the plant corresponding to subclass 2 and 3?
Yes, definitely. The idea of Homeopathy family, the idea of the understanding of how ins and outs are there, the idea of how inside is boring, how inside is dull, how inside is something that is no life inside, but outside is exciting, outside is thrilling. And therefore the idea of playing, the idea of dancing, the idea of moving out, the idea of the sensory touch, the idea of sensory stimuli. You taste good food, you feel the air, you feel the pleasant things outside, the idea of colors. This is what is the idea of inside and outside for the second subclass that you can understand. The idea of how the cannabis type of people, where inside the life is absolutely dull, gray, boring, lifeless, as if there is no ruchi in it. But when you move out, the feeling is that of giving this particular feeling of the sensory idea that, oh, it is so beautiful. Oh, it is something which is very nice. The idea of, feeling excited, the idea of being thrilled, the idea of, playing, dancing, colors, music, all these things, and the disorientation of time, place, and space. That is what you can see in the Hammalidae family. So from the second subclass, you get this idea again of being the window opening and you're going out. And when it is too much, you come back in again. And if you're in for a long time, it is again dull, boring, and you want to go out. So again, there is an idea of inside and outside that you can see in the second subclass also. But the contrast is very clear over here, that something that you want excitement outside, as against life that is dull and boring and completely, gray inside. Outside is filled with colors, the fragrance, the smell, the music, which excites you, makes you overjoyed.
Okay, sir. Another question from YouTube. Please differentiate Cnidarian from row 2. Cnidarian family. Please differentiate the Cnidarian family from row 2.
Which family?
Cnidarian. Cnidaria group of remedies.
No idea.
Okay, sir. No problem. So there's another general question that has come up on YouTube. As the patient is same throughout the life, does the same constitutional remedy help even in acute conditions?
If the acute condition, if all the symptomatology match, yes, definitely. But if it is an acute exacerbation of something that is from external factor and it has caused some problem, then the ailments from or the exciting factor will definitely take care of for change of the remedy. So if there is anything that has been something that has happened a day before and these are the complaints that I've developed, then the exciting factor or the ailments from will give you the precise remedy for that particular state. So it depends upon that acuteness. What is the symptomatology at that point of time? It might be the same constitutional remedy, or it can be also a remedy which is other remedy which has got some exciting factor which has triggered this acute condition.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll take up the last question for the day. The sensory stimuli in Labiati and Mammalidae family.
The sensory stimuli in Hammalidae family, the whole idea is that there is a feeling of being compressed. There is a feeling of a pressure. There is a feeling of you are as if you're stuck over there. This feeling of being compressed, being stuck makes you feel very heavy, as against the idea of being light and floating. This is what is Hammalidae's understanding. So the idea for Hammalidae is to feel that lightness, to feel that, floating, to feel that the feeling of being, being airborne. But for the Labiati, it is all about this crazy stuff, the nerve stimulation. Something that is you are becoming crazy. You don't know, it's a maddening craze. You're out of your senses sort of a thing. It's like, something that is being thrilling. Thrill is the word. So the idea of being thrilled and excited. And you're saying, yeah, this is the idea. Where the whole thing is you are out of your senses to do, you don't even know what you're doing. That is the idea of how the Labiati will be having, as against the feeling of light and floating, where you are completely disoriented with time, place, and space, is the idea of Hammalidae. There is no orientation of any time, place, or space. So that's how the Hammalidae will have you, give you the feeling of being compressed and as if it's loaded. And that's why you feel heavy. This world makes me feel heavy. So I go into a world that is giving me the sense of lightness. That is giving me the sense of being in heavens. That is giving me a sense of being airborne. Whereas the Labiati, it is like, it's like this. Something that is thrilling, and exciting, where the nerves are losing control. And therefore, these form a stimulant group. The Labiatae, the Coffea, that is the Rubiaceae family, they're all the stimulating ones, wherein you have got this neurotransmitter junction that is opened up to all the stimuli. But the response to each family is different. How each family responds makes all the difference. But stimulation is the common factor if you go to see for all these. The mint family also is a stimulant. The coffee family is also a stimulant. The cannabis family is also again a stimulant. The Pipraceae is again a type of stimulant. But what it causes and what it affects and how one responds makes all the difference.
Thank you, sir. So the questions don't seem to end. Can we take one last question, sir?
Yes.
Okay. How to differentiate Hammamlidae from the birds?
Birds, the idea of limiting one's own self, the idea of having their boundaries within one's own self, the idea of needing for freedom, the idea of being out of the boundaries. I need to break these boundaries and go out and be free. The idea of responsibilities. Why should I take care of the family? Why should I every day get up, make tiffin, make lunch for this thing and take care of the family and all? This is a sort of restriction for me. This is a sort of binding for me. This is like as if I'm chained. This is like as if I'm hooked. This is like as if I'm nailed. I'm made to be put into these four walls. These are my boundaries. And I just don't like it. I don't have that sense of freedom. I want that sense of freedom. I want to be moving out. I do not want any rules and regulations. Rules limit me. All the ethics limits me. Religion limits me. I need to have that freedom. Do whatever you want to. Go wherever you want to. No sense of direction should be there. The idea of again floating and flying. But this idea about being restricted, this idea of being caged, this idea of being within the four walls, this idea of being limited is not seen in Hammamlidae. Hammamlidae, the idea of being pressurized, the idea of being loaded, the idea of being compressed, the idea of being heavy is what we see in Hammamlidae. So some think that there is a boundary and I'm made to stay within this boundary. This is what the birds will have. Limited feeling as against limitless. Being stuck in one place as against moving, flying, floating here and there, go wherever you want to. So all the family responsibility is a type of restriction. This is what we see as far as the birds are concerned. And then there are group birds and solo birds. And when we see in group birds, the idea of moving with the flock, communicating, chirping, bubbly, wanting to be in the group. And the competition is to be in the group. That's what we will see in the group captive birds. As far as the solo birds, their idea is completely different. They have their own territory. Again, vision is the most important part of the raptors for that matter. Sharp vision. Soaring high. Up above the mountain. That's how for them it is all about the predator qualities of the birds. Whereas the captive group birds will give you to be within the flock. How to communicate with the flock, how to belong to the flock. The idea of making my place in this flock. This is not the story of the Hammamlidae. The Hammamlidae's whole idea is needing to move out to get this beautiful world, to sense it, to feel the beauty of the entire thing around. As against this, where I am right now, is a pressure, is a load, is a burden.
Thank you, sir, for the beautiful explanation. I think you clarified the doubts beyond the conception and birth remedies. And thank you so much, sir, for being with us for, I think it's more than 1 hour that we have you here on our platform. Thank you for all the participants who have loaded us with questions. And we look forward to seeing you in our next sessions also. And also tune in for our conception to birth remedies module, which will happen in November. Sir has just given a snippet today, so it's just the trailer of the big picture that. And yeah, I also would like to remind you that today and tomorrow, the early bird offer will apply to all the attendees of today's session. So you can just register. The link will be put up on the chat box. You can just click on it, and the link will expire by midnight of tomorrow. Thank you so much, sir, for actually giving us time. Thank you, really. Grateful to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Bye, all of you all. Thanks a million. See you all in the month of November for this fascinating world of row 1 and row 2, conception to birth. You all will surely enjoy it. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, bye.